What's up, everyone, and welcome to D's Spot. This is the spot for all things empowerment through yoga, meditation, and psychoeducation. My name is Dalia, and I am your host. I've been doing this self-love series, and we've been talking about a lot of different aspects of self-love. And today, we're going to be talking about self-worth. Do any of the following statements sound familiar? If I succeed at this, I will be more valuable as a person. If I get that promotion, I will be feeling more worthy as an employee. If I buy that expensive car or clothes, I'm going to feel more important. What do all three of those questions, or what do all three of those statements have in common? The answer is that they imply that your worth is dependent on something outside of yourself. Now, objectively speaking, your worth is not conditional on anything. You are born worthy. You are worthy just by virtue of being on this earth. But before we talk more about that, let's get clear on what we mean when we talk about self-worth, because there are so many self-words out there. And even in this series, we touched upon a lot of them, from self-concept to self-compassion to self-acceptance. So what is self-worth? Our self-worth is how we view ourselves, or how we perceive our value or worthiness as human beings. And you can appreciate that our thoughts, our feelings, and our behavior, these are all intimately tied into our perception of self. So someone who perceives themselves to have high worth is going to act and think and feel very differently than someone who has low self-worth because they don't see themselves as valuable. Now, why don't we see ourselves as valuable? We, my friends, have been so conditioned to associate our self-worth with achievement, with accomplishment, with productivity. And all those things are often found through competition with other people. So we have learned that we need to be competing for our self-worth because it feels like it's this finite thing that you need to grab before someone else does. I'm going to share with you the top 5 factors that people use to measure their own self-worth. And these are also the 5 factors that we use to compare ourselves with other people. So comparison, big problem for people who have low self-worth. So what's the first factor? Appearance. Duh, right? Who saw that one coming? But appearance can mean anything from what size you wear to what your clothes look like. Unfortunately, we tend to compare our looks based on these unrealistic standards of beauty that the media propagates, and it just ends up making us feel like we're not worthy because we can't afford the have a red light bed and a tanning bed in our office. So appearance, one factor. The other is net worth. This means all your wealth, income, material possessions, assets, all of the above. How much money do you have? The more, the better you are. Another factor is who you know, your social circle. Some people often judge their own value and the value of others based on the status of the people they surround themselves by or surround themselves with. So who you know, and then you have what you do. That's like the first question we ask people when we're getting to know them. So what do you do? And we often judge people based on what they do. For example, a stockbroker is considered super successful and worthy of our respect, but janitors, teachers, not so much. So those are some of the factors that we have been conditioned to compete against, to need to have in order to feel like we are worthy or deserving of people's respect and deserving to be treated nicely. And while people use many different types of domains or factors that people believe make them worthwhile, there are, people, for example, the self-worth of person A may be greatly determined by their job and their career and what they have. But the self-worth of person B is determined mainly based on what they look like and who they know. So there are different domains that we hold ourselves or different standards that we hold ourselves to or we judge others by, and noticing the factors or the domains that you use to frame your perception of self, or what you use as a reference to determine your self-worth, is the first step towards developing unconditional self-acceptance and self-worth. I'm going to share with you some reflection questions. You know, I love to get you to journal and I love giving you prompts. So get a pen and paper, because the questions I'm going to share with you are going to help you explore what conditions or factors that you use to determine your worthiness. All right, so I'm going to hit you with 5 questions. The first: in which situations do you usually compare yourself with other people? So when are you comparing yourself to other people? I'll put these questions in the comment as well, in the caption. Second question: in what aspects of yourself are you most critical? What are you always criticizing yourself about? Question 3: when do you feel like you have to pretend to be someone that you're not in order to feel accepted? Question number 4: when do you feel like your self-worth increases? And finally, the last question is: what are you most afraid people will think of you? Now, answering these questions can be triggering, you know. Pay attention to any emotional reactions, any thoughts, any physiological sensations that arise when you are answering these questions and journaling. And remember, you have to stay compassionate. That was our first word, self-compassion. It's the foundation. Remember, you're challenging years of hardwired conditioning. And even though you're now doing the work to rewire your brain and embody in your body inherent self-worth, that takes time and that takes practice and that takes, becoming mindful of your thoughts, of your behavior and your emotions, and being mindful to ask yourself constantly, how would someone who believed they are worthy, how would they act? How would they think? How would they feel? Never forget that at your core, you are solid gold, baby. You know that. So how would someone who knew that act? Stay tuned for more self-love aspects and more self-worth content. If you enjoyed this, please go ahead and like, subscribe, share. Make sure you leave me a comment. I'd love to hear from you and find out if you find these videos helpful. What would you find helpful? I'm here to serve you. And yeah, thank you. I appreciate you being here.